But I think what is changing now is that the people with AI skills, right, they are replacing jobs with people without AI skills.
Artak, I'd like you to introduce yourself, and I'd like you to tell us a bit about your career, because you've been 20 years in the data space, you tell me.
Well, thanks, Peter, for inviting me. It was an interesting journey when I first came to Australia. I was in Germany doing my Master's of Science degree, and then I got an offer to come to Australia to do PhD in data mining back then. And when I finished my PhD in privacy preserving data mining, it was not many job opportunities back then in Australia. There were a lot of things popping up in the US, but not in Australia. Then I got my first job in a university for, again, connected to data and analytics and those sorts of things. And then since then, after university, we moved to industry and then kind of picked up, I think, the market picked up.
20 years is a long time. How has the data space changed for you in that time?
Oh, massively changed. I remember when I was doing PhD, I had to go to this company, and I won't mention the name. I don't even remember the name, to be honest. There was this executive, and part of my PhD was to interview them and then tell about my PhD topic and then see how the market reacts and so on. And when I was talking to him about data mining, about analytics, about privacy and so on, and this guy looked at me and says, like, I don't know, what is all that? You know, I don't know, if I need privacy, I'll just keep my data in my drawer. And that was like a shock to me. It's like, people still think that, you know? Mm-hmm. And since then, obviously, a lot happened. Right now, everywhere you go, people talk about AI, people talk about data, about the governance, and so on. The roles even, chief data officer roles, starting to pop up, chief AI officer roles, you know, it was not heard of.
But Artak, it's interesting as you're talking there, because you're a profession, if that's the right word, that's evolved over time. We're getting much smarter on it. But sometimes also another thing that's happening, especially with AI, is it's becoming quite democratized. Yes. You know, anybody can create an AI model. Suddenly your control is lost. Your expertise is being challenged by everybody in the business doing this thing and thinking they're experts, but they're not. How do you strike a balance between encouraging people to embrace data and AI and at the same time make sure they do it within the right guardrails?
I actually love it, right? When a lot of people use AI. And I remember years back, I read this book called Predictive Machines, all right? And one of the things that the author was talking about there is about AI economy. And the thing that's stuck with me is that when things get cheaper, people use more, right? So think about that, right? So great example, and I saw this during my 20 years of experience, is happening all the time, right? Like even ChatGPT, right? LLMs were there before, right? But who could use it, right? Only the scientists somewhere there building like very expensive models, running cloud and so on. And then what happened? Right? It just became cheap and more accurate in a sense, yes. But it becomes so much cheaper, so it was accessible, it was free, and then suddenly you see the boom, right, for people using it.
But there comes an issue in this as you're talking about that growth. The idea of a strategy for how you can go ahead. So you've got some vision and a sort of an anarchy where everybody's doing their own thing. How do you get the people from the ideas and put them into actionable that makes the organization go ahead?
Well, you need to have some guardrails, right? Because if we're talking about the kind of impact in the companies, or we're talking about the social impact, the government, the country, or I think there are two different, I would say, things. Some are related, but a bit different. So from the company perspective, obviously there's a reputational risks. There's all sorts of other risks that you have. So you want to put some guardrails. That's what we do. We put some guardrails in a company, like, for example, I don't know, you can't share this data, or you physically restrict the data kind of going outside. You put some firewalls. You put all sorts of other things. Also, you make sure the models that are using, for example, have indemnity insurances, all these sorts of things, guardrails you put. But then you open up for everyone, because this is where the kind of you get most value from your AI investments, right? You want more people to use it, not less people.
And those models that you're building, how much do you need to bring in cross-functional teams, like people from different business units? Is this really your domain, or is it everyone's domain?
It is everyone's domain, right? I mean, it became a cliche now, but And people were, I remember back in those days when I was going to the conferences, people were asking the questions, and they still keep asking, is the AI is going to replace my job, right? Those sorts of things. Yes, absolutely. There are some jobs that AI is going to replace. But I think what is changing now is that the people with AI skills, right, they are replacing jobs with people without AI skills, right? So therefore, it's becoming everybody's domain. So I think it's everybody's responsibility to kind of learn and to adapt to the new world, because this is where we are. That's kind of a reality at the moment. And even the finding right people, for example, we back in years back when I wanted to hire, let's say, data scientist, or it's very hard to find, and you have to find someone, data scientist, very technical, but also talks to business, right? Those unicorns, and so it was very difficult, right? Now, because the things become so easier, the business people, right, can be all those users of AI. So, and the data scientists or machine learning engineers, they pretty much become people who enable them to use AI rather than most of the time building models.
Well, there's so much capability of it.
Yes.
And I wondered, as my concluding question to you, Artak, is what advice do you have for people about navigating the potential power of AI, but also making sure it doesn't sort of destroy the place?
I don't think it will destroy it, but I think you just have to embrace it. It's a reality, right? You're going to get away with it. We've seen these sorts of revolutions all the time in our history, right? The printing press came up, right? A lot of scribes, they lost their jobs, right? But what happened? Did they kind of have less jobs? Yes, that printing press created whole new industries and whole new things, newspapers and so on. So created even more impact to the economy than less impact. So yes, scribes who were doing by hand, they lost their jobs, but they could easily adapt to a new reality with printing press, right? I think that's what's going on with AI. I'm not afraid at all into that. Maybe I'm biased a bit, but realistically, look, I think net impact, it's going to be positive, not negative.
Yeah, but the advantage you're going to have is embrace the technology, because basically it's going to enrich you in your working career.
Yes, I think that's fair, and you have to. It's not like before you could kind of live without it. Now you can't.
Yeah.
Right, because it's coming everywhere. Right, you have to embrace it, and the sooner you do, the better.